The definition of rape has changed a lot over the years. It used to be that if you were raped and happened to be a guy, well, your rape didn't really count. States have different laws and penalties on the books for the crime. But in 2012, in an effort to not necessarily prosecute, but just quantify the crime, the FBI updated its definition to read, the penetration, no matter how slight, of the vagina or anus with any body part or object or oral penetration by a sex organ of another person without consent of the victim.
Prior to this whole change of the definition, no rape was reported when it was female on male, male on male, when instruments were used, sodomy.
For many, something sounded off about that old definition.
If you keep telling people that men can't be raped by women, and then they don't disclose because you tell them it can't happen, you shouldn't be surprised that they're not disclosing.
James Landreth says he was raped by a woman in 1992 in North Carolina when he was 19 years old, but didn't report it to the authorities.
At the very least, I'm sure I would have been laughed at.
But even if he did report it, it wouldn't matter. Under the old definition of rape, his rape technically wasn't a rape. Prosecutor Mary Phan has tried many rape cases in her career.
The changes in the FBI's definition, now that's for statistical reporting purposes. That's not state law.
In other words, how the FBI defines rape does not affect how states prosecute the crime. Take the infamous Brock Turner case, for instance. The fact that Turner was in California and used his fingers instead of his penis to penetrate the victim played a major role in how he was convicted. If you were to ask the FBI, what Turner did was rape. He penetrated someone with, quote, any body part without consent. According to California's penal code, however, it could only be prosecuted as sexual assault, not rape.
And that ties into our controversies in our culture over our vision of sexuality and how sexuality happens.
After the Turner case, legislators pushed and won for the state of California to update its definition to mirror the FBI's new definition that's inclusive of all genders and broadens the scope of objects used. All this makes it easier to prosecute rape in the state. Now, 43 states have done something similar, but 6 states use the old definition. But since some states still aren't on the same page about their legal definition, it makes it really hard for the FBI to know how many rapes happen in each state and in turn in the nation. The Centers for Disease Control will tell you about 2.4 million people were raped last year in the US based on an annual survey it conducts. Ask the FBI and it'll tell you 124,057 people were raped last year. That's because the FBI only takes into account people who have reported it to the police, which is only about 1/3 of victims. All that underreporting, there's a lot of reasons for that.
Sometimes the perpetrators are long gone. The evidence is really way in the past, and it's going to be a lot of emotional devastation for probably no end result.
So while today James' assault would be considered a rape by the FBI, he still has no legal recourse because in North Carolina, rape is just vaginal.
We're being silenced and told it wasn't real, it doesn't count, it's not rape. I hate that phrase.